Yesterday, really, raising interest rates, is that the next step to taming inflation? We had bigger inflation numbers than I think we would have hoped for, up to 4% and change. And we've tried this already. We know there was a lot of money circulating in the system 2.5 years ago. So we're tweaking, right? We're fine tuning. Maybe people think there's no other solution or strategy at this point. But it is stressful, and I'm not sure that it's working. The idea is when interest rates go up to tame inflation, well, new buildings slow up in the real estate market. That's for sure. Why? High interest rates. What's that do? Help the housing crisis, or does that exacerbate it? You already know the answer. I'm eager to talk to our next guest. She's been on our show a lot, and I love her Saturday conversations with Maggie John on Toronto this weekend. Devel Morrison joins us, broker at Bosley Real Estate. I hear you and Maggie. I'm driving kids around, going to grocery stores. I'm out of orange juice, and then I either sit in the car and I listen to the end of the segment, or I shush the kids, and I'm like, Devel and Maggie are talking. You be quiet. I love having you on this morning.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, Maggie and I have a great time on Saturday mornings. We really do.
I love it. And again, what I like is some push and pull. You guys, there's some pushing. There's some, tell me more about this. I'm not sure. I'm with you 100%. That's a conversation. Those are the ones we should have more of.
Absolutely.
What do you make this 4% inflation? The bottom line out of the gate, I think people wonder is, are you expecting an interest rate hike now?
Well, I guess I'm always hoping on the side that we don't have another another interest rate hike, simply because I know how tough it is right now for so many people with higher mortgage payments. So, yeah, it is too bad that the inflation number has gone up to 4%. But I think that they need to look at the basket of goods that they are looking at to determine the inflation rate. Because one of the basket of goods that they look at to determine that inflation rate, outside of the gas prices, which have increased, outside of the food prices, which have increased, is the mortgage payments. And of course, we're going to be paying more for our mortgages when interest rates are higher. So that is going to feed into having higher inflation rates. But technically, the fact that we are all paying more for our mortgages is really deflationary. So it's not really contributing to inflation. And so therefore, I do have to question the basket of goods that we're using to determine the inflation rate, which is making the Bank of Canada increase rates that much more.
Is there even develop morale or a mood? There's nothing tangible in terms of a number, but even it's a moment, a sliver of an opening last week when we see, okay, taxes will be cut on new rental builds. And you think, okay, maybe there's some sand shifting here in a positive direction. Boom. And then yesterday, does that affect how people choose to buy and sell and whether they're eager to do it and have the energy to do it?
Well, I mean, for inflation rates, absolutely. It does affect their ability to buy and sell. And quite frankly, there are people who are selling now simply because their inflation rates are there's certain other inflation rates, their mortgage rates are too high. Because there's so many people on a variable rate mortgage, or there's people who have to renew their mortgages. We know that about 20% of mortgage holders have to renew their mortgages every year. So that's 20% of mortgage holders who are now feeling the pinch of that new interest rate. And it's quite high for some people with higher mortgages. So that is definitely affecting the market. I'm noticing so many more condos on the market right now, and those condos are sitting. They are not having, some of them might have offer dates, but people are not offering on those offer dates when it comes to the condos. So it's definitely affected the condo market. Which I think is it's the investors who are who have been affecting the condo market more.
Let's even drill down on that. The idea of an investment property that's a condo. Is that market sort of just stuck right now because people don't want to put it back out on the market? They won't get back what they hope they would, and people can't get into that particular market because of the rates themselves.
Well, yes, the rates are very high. So what you have now is people who have invested in real estate through buying a condo. Their interest rates were high because they were on a variable. Now their rates keep getting pushed higher and higher. Their rent no longer covers their mortgage payments. And so now they want out because now they feel that they're underwater, $500 a month, $700 a month. And what I mean by underwater is they have to keep throwing in that much more money because their expenses and their rent are not adding up. So because you've got a lot of those investors who feel that they're underwater, they're selling their condos. Hence, we're seeing a lot more condos in the market now. The challenge in this is that they tend to be selling condos that are tenanted.
Hmm.
So now you're putting tenants into that musical chairs of trying to find a place to live, and rental prices are just getting higher and higher and higher and higher.
Yeah, I think about when you mentioned underwater. We got hit so blasted in Michigan by the global recession, and all of our mortgages were underwater, meaning we owed more, and so many people did. We owed more to the bank than the house was worth at that point in time. We're not there yet, obviously, not
No.
by a long shot. But yeah, when there's more going out of your household than there is coming in, you have to make sacrifices, and the mortgage is that last bastion of security for you there.
Exactly. And so, what the challenge now, when you are selling a property that's tenanted, is after you sell it, then you have to serve that tenant with notice. You have to give them 60 days notice, like full days notice, but then you also have to pay them 1 month's rent to leave. But you hope that
Hmm.
tenant will leave. Because what we're seeing out in the marketplace right now is a lot of tenants saying they're not going to leave. So the tenant doesn't leave. You've got a buyer who's bought a property
Hmm.
to move in. And now either the closing date needs to be moved back or that buyer feels like they want to walk away, but they can't really walk away. So it's causing a bit of a nightmare out there in the system, I would say, with some of the sales because of this.
So to put you on the spot, and I get to ask you before Maggie does, will we see a 0.25% hike increase, 0.5% point? What do you think?
I guess I'm gonna go back to I really hope that we don't see an increase.
I
I
do
mean,
too.
it's only September the 19th. The next
Hmm.
interest rate announcement is October the 25th. So there is still time for some of those metrics to change so that we can hope that they still pause on October the 25th versus increase. So yeah, you're going to try to put me on the spot, but I know that I am not a soothsayer, and I'm not going to say whether it's going to go up or pause, but I just hope that it does pause, and I hope that the metrics that they look at for inflation change in the next month.
Let's all ease up on that Thanksgiving food spending, and then they can't pin the food inflation on all of us. We could all eat less, and B, we can spend less at the grocery store, and then hopefully that number stays placid is the best way I can put it. Best way I
But
can put it.
Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays.
I'm not.
And
All right, and by Christmas, it's much, much better because a lot of those mortgages come due right after Christmas. That's going to affect what's under the tree. It's all interrelated.
Right.
I got a blast, Devel. I'll be listening for you on the weekend. Thanks so much for this today.
Thanks a lot, Greg.
Awesome. Devel Morrison joining us on Toronto today. She's a broker at Bosley Real Estate.